Today, we're going to talk about tracking your sexual urges. I want to preface this by saying that I'm not the best at tracking. I would go as far as to say that I suck at tracking. This is because I did not know how to track, I did not know what to look for. So, in many areas of my life in the early days, and to an extent in some areas of my life today, to be honest, I loved complicated trackers. I would download Excel sheets, I would create sheets, I would buy diaries and physical planners and all sorts of things. But I often found that at the end of the day, it was going back to like a yellow legal pad that always worked best for me, and post-it notes. That's why in the group we have something called Post-it Monday, which was where I would just, on a post-it note, I would just write my goals or write my to-do list or all the things I was going to do for the week. And I'd stick it in my car or stick it in the fridge or stick it on a mirror, and I would just draw a line through it. So I preferred simple tracking. Now, I know there's some of you guys who love complicated tracking and do very well with it. We have lots of guys in our programs who have created some amazing spreadsheets. I think it depends on your personality as well. But today we're going to be talking about tracking something that is a little bit more subtle and something that we're very reactive to. We react to certain things, and these things set us down the path to engaging in behavior which we regret. Now, your compulsive sexual behavior is not random. Despite how random it may seem to you, especially in the early stages, you might say, I just felt an urge, or I just felt tired, or I didn't feel anything. I just wanted to engage in the behavior. That never, ever happens. That's just your perception. In almost all cases, your slip or relapse, and your urge in particular before the slip or relapse, is preceded by some negative emotion. Yes, even if you are elated, even if you experienced a big win in your life, and you came back home and you said, I deserve to celebrate because I am on a high. When you learn how to track your urges, you will become aware that there was a negative emotion that preceded that as well. You had this high of elation, this dopamine high, and it was dropping. And you may have told yourself that you deserve to celebrate more, or that this high, you worked so hard towards this goal, you've accomplished it, it feels good, but you are a little disappointed that you worked so hard for so long, but the celebration is so short in your head. Like, man, that's all it is. And then you tell yourself, I should celebrate more. I should enjoy this more. That would be the negative emotion. Now, it is important as you go through your reboot to notice and monitor your feelings and your behavior. In the reboot program, we use something called a masturbation checklist. Now, it's a sheet that is designed to help you keep track of your urges, your emotions, your boundaries, your self-care, your relationships, and so on, prior to a slip to masturbation. But for the purposes of this episode, I'm going to talk about an urge tracker, which is basically a written record of your urge to act out. It's that simple. Before you create your own urge tracker, it's important to understand that you have specific triggers. Your triggers could be certain people in your life. It could be places. It could be an emotion like anxiety. It could be loneliness. It could be an urge for intimacy. You have to learn how to identify your specific triggers. Now, we're going to start by you designing your urge tracker, and it's very simple. It's a piece of paper that has several columns. But if you're going to do this, I recommend just pausing this recording, getting yourself a piece of paper, or if you're really good with apps or tech, you can do it on that. But put out, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do nine columns. And on the first column, you're going to write the date and time. On the second column, you're going to write what was going on before the urge. So were you tired? Were you stressed out? Were you lonely? Were you consuming a substance like alcohol? On the third column, you're going to rate the strength. So write strength on a scale of 1 to 10. So strength 1 to 10, and then you will write the strength of that urge. It could be a 2, a 3, or 4. My overthinkers, those of you who are already overthinking this, be very wary. Overthinking is sometimes a defense mechanism of your addict subpersonality to prevent you from taking action. Your overthinking can be something as simple as, I can't really tell the strength of the urge. It could be a 2, it could be 5, just that. Strength of the urge on a scale of 1 to 10. The next column, write the length of time for which it persisted. Did it persist all through the day? Was it on and off? Was it for about an hour? Was it for a few minutes? Was it for a few seconds? In the next column, you're going to write out, did you act out? Yes or no? Yes/no. Act out simply means, did you view pornography? Did you masturbate? Did you engage in the behavior that you've been trying to avoid? On the next column, if it's a yes, then write out how long and the type of acting out behavior it was. Were you editing? Were you edging to something on Instagram or social media or to a picture? Or did you actually access pornography and masturbate to it? Did you masturbate to completion? You can decide the type. Did you try to meet up with somebody in person? Or did you just edge to that? Did you go to a massage parlor and actually go all the way through to completion? Or did you go and decide not to go through completion? What did you do? On the next column, you're going to write how you felt after. So, did you experience shame or did you experience some sort of regret after that? What was the emotion? Or did you feel no remorse? That might happen as well. On the next column, and let's take a step back with the no remorse thing. You may have felt numb and you may have not felt any remorse. Don't interpret this as anything. All we're doing when you're using your urge tracker is just simply tracking it. Remember, I've always said that slips are data. It is from the data that we will be able to help and support you. It is from the data that you will be able to become an expert at yourself and understand your patterns. The problem is, you sabotage yourself so much, so you never get the opportunity to gather enough data. And counting days is not data. On the next column, write out the alternate behavior or the alternative behavior that you could have engaged in. You must write this out. And there you have it. You have your own urge tracker. Now you can design it, you can make it fancy, but this is one of the simplest things that you can have on hand that you can use every time you experience an urge. Finally, I want you to understand that the urge itself is not important. You might have tricked yourself into thinking that the urge is based on something so much deeper. I hear men saying, I need to understand why this behavior is in my life. Why is this urge so strong? You're only thinking of the why. You're only focusing on the urge because you don't have the data, because you don't know what to do about it. You don't know how to stop it. You've lived with it so long that you just wish it would disappear. You're only focusing on the negatives of the urge. I'm here to tell you it's not important. What's important is the data. It is understanding the data and taking action on that that's going to set you free. What is actually important is the circumstances which create the urge. That's what you get from the data. It is not some crazy, root cause issue that's rooted in your childhood. No, it isn't. Now, when you identify the context of your urge, you're going to be able to generate an alternative path. It might be a coping strategy you would use. It might be something that you add on to your self-care or an adjustment to your self-care. Something like better sleep, taking breaks between work so you don't get too stressed out, spending more quality time with your spouse so you can generate intimacy. It might have something to do with boundaries you set. If you don't know what strategy to apply, if you don't know what to do after you've gathered the data, feel free to get on a call with one of our Reboot strategists. One of their jobs is to help you strategize and come up with a plan that you can use to manage your urges as well. And finally, I just want to say that whatever strategy that you come up with or you come up with us, it will not feel better than the immediate gratification that you're going to get from more and viewing pornography. I just want to make that clear. I think that's a very important expectation to set, because you will miss the excitement of you will miss the excitement of novelty, of going on this fantasyland adventure. And sometimes the coping strategy might be, no, it's okay. It's okay. And that's what you've got to get used to. You've got to get used to that temporary feeling of, man, this is black and white. This is work. But understand that it's not a bad price to pay. It just takes a couple of months of doing this. It's not, and again, I'm being realistic, guys. It takes a couple of months, not just to gather the data, but actually to pay attention to the data. Sometimes you gather data, you become aware, and your behavior stops for a while, and you're good to go. Don't throw away your urge tracker. Something might happen a few weeks later or 2 or 3 months later. Pick up the urge tracker and continue. Put the date, put the time, track it. And over time, over a couple of months, even over a year, you will come to understand yourself better than anyone else. You will become an expert at yourself. And that's when your life starts changing. So again, not a bad price to pay, not a heavy price to pay for a behavior that you've been stuck on for years and years and years.